Let me get everything working. I've been so excited to stream all day. Is the music a bit too loud? Let me see. Back up. Okay, let me get that up. And then all I need to do is send out the link. Okay, okay. Okay. And then let me send the link here. Okay, everything's set up. I am so excited to play today, and I've been so excited to stream all day, but I had so much different stuff going on. A lot of Animal Crossing. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but I got so many characters. I was just doing a 16. Hi Connie, welcome. I did a 16 poll, which I've never had like 10 Primo Gems or Primo Gems. I've never been able to do like a 10 pull before or anything. I never save up that much. But oh my goodness, it's gonna take forever to load, isn't it? Oh goodness. Mm. Uh-oh. Oh my. Um, Offline games? I don't know if I've heard of those. Like single player ones? I mean, I guess I can always play Sims. Genshin annoys me so much because I'll have everything set up and then it'll decide not to work. Oh, that's smart. I have plenty of interesting games, so that's a good idea. I'm gonna give Genshin a few minutes and see if it wants to work today, and if not, then we'll switch gears. But I got super lucky, so I was doing a 16 pull, and I got D-Luke, so I was super... Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, my Wi-Fi isn't that great. Well, give it one more try. But I got D-Luke, so I was like, okay, well, I I mean, I was happy, of course, but you know, I kind of wanted Wanderer, and then immediately after I got Wanderer too. Oh God. Hmm. And you know what? We might switch gears. At least for now. Literally! I got D-Luke and I was like... Because I, of course, was happy, you know. Like, I got a good character, I think. But I don't know much about any of the men. I just kind of want cute girls. Genshin, please. Please don't break my computer, please. Uh-oh. Please, Genshin, please. Almost. Almost? Exactly. Wander I just like because I don't know anything about him, but I like that he floats and he seems like a silly little emo boy. I love silly little emo boys. There we go. Okay. If it lags too bad, English. If it lags too bad, we'll still shift gears. But give it a try at least. I love Yay too. That's completely fair. I really want her. I love all the women in Genshin. Oh no. Oh wait, I have an idea to possibly make it work. If it'll load. I feel that. Dude, when she does her ultimate, that I realize I'm gay. Let's try stretching my computer a little less far than it's already going. Hmm. After the game's restarted, no, I'm not doing that. Suck my oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. I mean, don't delete friend. That's annoying, friend. Exactly. If I had to write an essay on proof I'm gay, it'd be about Yai. I don't know if I pronounce her correctly. I always try with Genshin characters, but I'm not exactly perfect with it. I also got what's her name? Farazan? I really want to use her. I need so much for different characters though. I keep focusing on getting characters and not on doing anything with them. I got my different little groups. Ah. Yeah, then I say we'll play a different game. Oh goodness, please don't die, computer. Please don't die. You know what? For now, we can... Oops! Wrong one. For now, we can chat. And I got my cute little chat menu now. While I figure out what game we should play that won't kill my computer and won't lag stream. Hmm. I have plenty of visual novels, but I'm wondering... my concern about visual novels is that I haven't finished them, so I don't know what's in them. But I am playing one. You know what? Yeah, that's pretty lag-free. Then let me change the title of stream. Why am I so tiny? Oh my goodness. But, better for now. I'm so professional, fixing things midstream. Steam, don't act up right now. Here we go. High five on that. Oh my goodness. Ah, so loud, so loud. I'm guessing you can't hear it, but Jesus. Oh wait, I can turn down my volume. I forgot about that. Okay. Music? Chill out a little, music. Okay. Henry Tyler scene. Okay, here we go. And then change the game. Bop, bop. And here we go. Okay. Now, wrong one. I'll get used to this eventually. And let me fix a little. Something I learned the other day, I'm easily entertained, is you can like see like what's behind my ears, which makes me so happy. I am not immune to ads. I'm very bad at them. When I see an ad, I often buy them, although mine aren't very good at knowing me well. Okay, let me make it so you can actually see the game. That'd be helpful. Thank you for all the help, Connie. Okay. Ah! Does it not give you them? Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. Okay, woo! Now, I am at a point in this game, but I'm gonna restart the game, because I know that everyone will be coming in at random times, but it's not gonna help anyone. Oh, really? I didn't even know you could get ads on my stream, but I guess it makes sense, you know, Twitch has got to earn money, that's fair enough. I'm gonna restart, because, you know, it's not gonna be helpful for anyone if I just start at a random point. Oh, I'm gonna have to voice act. Aspen Draper? Aspen Draper was probably one of the last people to see elderly Miss Lay still alive, and she was definitely the first person to see her after she had died. Oopsies. Miss Lay had lived next door to Aspen for as long as the teenage girl could remember, in her semi-detached house on Paradise Road. Paradise Road, despite its grandiose name, didn't live up to expectations. It was like any other street in Scarborough. Isn't that in England? That's so cool. Really. Gray, cramped, and gently sloping down the side of a shallow hill. Well, I guess she doesn't like it very much. Fair enough. The pavement was usually littered with takeaway cartons from kebab houses. The bins never seemed to get empty on time, no matter how often Aspen's mother complained to the local council. And at night, Aspen could often hear stray cats fighting, or worse, mating, outside her window. Scarborough? Ah! That makes sense. I could see, like, you know, of course, to me it's like, whoa, England, that's so cool, but it's like, I was so excited to go to New York, I thought I'd love it, but, you know, once you're actually in a place, it's different than just glamour and glitter and all the good things you hear. Despite the street's numerous flaws, however, Miss Lay had lived there for almost all her life, or ever since I got married to Ivor, as she herself put it. Hi, Bobs! My little lion cub is here. Aspen had lived in Paradise Road all her life, too, and though she'd met Miss Lay on many occasions, she'd never have the pleasure of speaking to her husband. Ivor had died before Aspen had been born. Miss Lay was old, though Aspen didn't quite know how old. Aspen presumed the woman must have been in her 70s or 80s, maybe even 90s, but it seemed rude to ask. England, we have that's how I feel describing where I live. I won't be specific, um, but I live in the USA in the Midwest area, and the big stuff people know, like the big cities, or they know like Wisconsin has cheese, stuff like that. But other than that, it's like we have corn and more corn. The elderly Miss Lay was a mysterious creature with no fixed age. She had looked much the same to Aspen when she was 6 and when she was 16. If Miss Lay had changed at all over the decade, Aspen couldn't tell. I love background music and visual novels. We have Chippy in bed with. Oh no! Is it rainy or just like cold? Miss Lay exuded. Miss Lay exuded a constant aura of frailty and elderliness, an aura which was further compounded by her penchant for closing her blue, roomy eyes and mumbling, back in my day. Oh no, that sounds terrible. When I'm older, I want to move to Washington area, and I hear there it's always cloudy too. My mom really loves England. Aspen didn't know when exactly Miss Lay's day had been, but it must have been years and years ago. What if she's a vampire? That would be cool. Decades, even. Screw the sun. Exactly. I mean, it probably wouldn't be so bad for me. I get hot really easily, so I like cloudy weather. It was certainly long before Aspen had been born, and it might have been before her parents had been. Okay, I get they're setting a scene, but this child is just roasting this old woman. What did this old woman do to her? Miss Lay didn't seem to have any friends or family. Though Aspen had lived next to Miss Lay for 16, bordering on 17 years, she rarely saw cars that weren't Miss Lay's old, unused Nissan parked in the driveway. The car had probably belonged to Ivor when he was alive. Maybe that was why Miss Lay never touched it. Could she even drive? I feel like, okay, I may be judging too quick, but I feel like she's roasting this poor old woman. Like, I get saying she's old, and I get, like, teenagers can be a little like, oh, she's so old, I couldn't imagine being that old, but, like, they, a little far in the judgment. The old woman seemed so very frail, with her slender wrists and her slow, shuffling gait, that Aspen doubted it. Aspen had never seen any children, grandchildren, nieces, or nephews grace the doorstep of Miss Lay's home. It was just Miss Lay and occasionally the woman from the council called Rebecca, but call me Bex, who came around a few times a week to buy Miss Lay groceries and clean her kitchen. Thinking about it, Rebecca should have been the one to discover Miss Lay's body first. Surely that was her job. Rebecca was employed not only to aid the elderly woman in her twilight years, but to save any poor, wide-eyed, nail-biting neighborhood girls from stumbling upon Miss Lay's corpse during the winter months. Oh, poor girl. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Rebecca hadn't shown up on that particular Sunday. Sunday was her day off. And Aspen had, and it had been Aspen who had found the body, not Rebecca. That's just how life goes. But to arrive at the point of Aspen finding Miss Lay's body, the old woman's eyes rolled up in her head and her mouth twisted from a sudden heart attack. We had to go back. I feel like they keep being like, what about this thing? No, we can't do that yet. What about this thing? No, we can't do that yet. Aspen had spent most of her life ignoring Miss Lay as best she could, though her mother had told her to smile and wave when she saw the old deer pottering around in her garden. That's what Aspen's mother called Miss Lay, the old dear, and Aspen supposed she was harmless enough. Privately, however, Aspen had always thought Miss Lay was a little creepy. Miss Lay was a small and shrunken creature, like a living specimen pickled in vinegar. Dude, she is so mean to this old lady. Okay, I mean, I guess, like, from the sounds of it, it sounds like she's a vampire or, like, something crazy, and this game is called Rituals in the Dark, so, like, maybe she's a demon, I don't know, but I'm on the old lady's side. A small, shrunken creature. Exactly! You could just call this old woman who lives by herself a small and shrunken creature. Like a living specimen pickled in vinegar. Her hair was very thin and white, and it was often tied back in a bun that exposed a worrying amount of baby pink scalp. Her fingers, meanwhile, were gnarled like the roots of a tree. Miss Lay would sometimes meander around in her front garden while the weather was nice and her joints were up to it. You're my small shrunken creature. I'd never describe you this way. I mean, still, you're small. I was gonna say mentally, but that sounds like I'm calling you dumb. No, I'm not calling you dumb. You have not a small personality. You know what I mean. You have the personality of a short person. She'd finger the overgrown cluster of sweet peas and the pear trees that were even older and frailer than she was with a satisfied nod, as though the plants in her garden were supposed to be dying. Interesting. Maybe Miss Lay was so old, her eyesight so poor, she simply couldn't see that her precious roses had been half devoured by caterpillars, her snapdragons and marigolds overrun by weeds. I can't say much, Connie, I'm short. I mean, to be fair, some people consider me tall, some people consider me short. I would like to be tall, so I'd like to say I'm tall, but depends who you ask. Or maybe she did know, but she knew she was too old to do anything about it. Miss Lay could hardly don a pair of gardening gloves and kneel down in the dirt at her age, whatever her age was. Why is she so mean? She'd throw her back out or dislocate a kneecap, and then she'd never be able to get back up again. Miss Lay seemed perfectly content to meander, nursing a mug of warm tea in her choppy fingers and a thick cardigan thrown over her shoulders as she admired what had once been a pretty flower garden. You were definitely proving my point, exactly. And I responded as a tall person would, with calmness. When Miss Lay saw Aspen, typically on her way back home from primary school or ballet practice, she would smile and say how big she was getting. Aspen, who had always been shy, would murmur words of thanks at her mother's behest and hurry indoors, where Miss Lay's sad smile couldn't reach her. For many years, these were the only interactions the two had. But that changed on Aspen's 13th birthday. Okay? Dude, I hate when people call me the second one. Like, for me, it's more of a genuine hate, though, because I'm asexual. So it's like, I openly am not do that thing, you know? And the old woman did something quite surprising. She brought Aspen a present. See? I'm on the old lady's side. Well, bought might have not been the correct word. Miss Lay rarely went 3 paces past her front garden, and she certainly never went to Sainsbury's. That was Rebecca's job. I overreact when someone calls me short. Or when you'll notice that I always try to take compliments good because, I want to be sweet and I want to be a cute little lion girl, but I usually react to compliments by biting and attacking. Especially, like, the more the compliment means, the more I get riled up and attack. Instead, Miss Lay wrapped one of her little ornaments up in paper, put it inside a shoebox, and left it on the draper's doorstep with a card attached. The ornament was small and made of painted ceramic, though most of the paint had flaked away. It depicted a little girl in a leotard and tutu, her hair tied back with a ribbon, standing on point with her arms extended. I do the same thing. Compliments are hard to accept. One of the girl's hands had snapped off, and her nose was broken, but it was a sweet gesture all the same. Aspen's father had been convinced the little ornament was worth a pretty penny, and he took it to an antique shop to be appraised, much to his wife's irritation. "I'm not going to sell it, Penny," Mr. Draper had tried to reassure his wife. "This belongs to Aspen. I just want to satisfy my own curiosity. You never know. It could be something special." Water break. Aspen's father, incidentally, worked as a curator at the Scarborough Art Gallery. He spent his day examining works of art, and he had a vested interest in how old, and more importantly, how expensive, little trinkets like Miss Lay's ballerina figure were. British people. Unfortunately, a quick trip to the antique shop revealed that the ballerina was almost entirely worthless, but that is neither here nor there. That is neither here nor there. The card Miss Lay left Aspen was decorated with an image of a young, rosy-cheeked girl in a pale blue dress playing with a jump rope. The card was very pastel, almost washed out, and seemed to have come from another era, maybe the 1960s or 70s. Inside the card, Miss Lay had written, in a faint and spidery handwriting, "Dear Althea," Miss Lay often got Aspen's name wrong, "I hope you like your present. I saw it, and it reminded me of you. I know you practice ballet, and I thought you might get more enjoyment out of it than I do. Love, Marguerite? Marguerite?" Up until that day, Aspen hadn't known what Miss Lay's first name was. She'd always had called her Miss Lay. She'd never even stopped to consider that Miss Lay might have a first name. It seemed almost inconceivable. Miss Lay's name... I gotta look up how to pronounce this because I don't want to be mispronouncing his name. That's disrespectful. Give me 1 minute. It's a beautiful name. Marguerite. Miss Lay's name, Marguerite, didn't really suit her. The name was too light and jaunty. It conjured up images of pretty, dark-haired girls in red, ruffled dresses dancing beneath the moonlight, not an elderly woman in frumpy clothes nodding benignly at clusters of worm-eating primroses. So mean, oh my god! Maybe Miss Lay had been more like a Marguerite in the past. Maybe her white hair had been dark, she had worn red ruffles, and she had danced the night away. She must have been young and vivacious and full of life at one time. Maybe it had been when Ivor was still alive, however long ago that was. But Aspen couldn't imagine it. Aspen didn't want to call Miss Lay Marguerite. For some reason, it made her feel sad. It felt too much like a wasted opportunity. Oh. Thank you. My mom bought me cheese bread. Pastime that would never, ever come back. Miss Lay was always, and would always, be Miss Lay to Aspen. The revelation of Miss Lay's full name, however, was not the crucial takeaway from that letter. It was clear that I feel bad because I love visual novels, but I get kind of impatient sometimes. I'm like, let me make a choice, you know? Like, I know the whole point is a reading, but I sometimes misunderstand the assignment, and it's like, oh my god, just let me choose something already, let me click something. ADHD, getting impatient at a novel. Too many words in a novel. It was clear that, though Miss Lay and Aspen had only exchanged the briefest of greetings over the last 13 years, Miss Lay had been paying more attention to Aspen than she herself had ever realized. True, she had gotten Aspen's name wrong. Aspen was quite an unusual name, not very Yorkshire. Yo, Yorkshire! Isn't that where, isn't that where my beloved is from? Alex Turner? Wait. You can tell I have a short attention span because I keep going to look things up. Like Yorkshire? See, this is why I need you here. You're the expert. I don't know where I got it from that he's from Yorkshire. He's not. Fair enough. But Miss Lay knew enough about Aspen to know she took ballet classes. At least she had taken ballet classes. Ooh, T, what happened? Aspen had quit when she started secondary school. Going to her lessons every Friday had been a painful experience. The ballet mistress, one Miss... I am not going to attempt to pronounce that name because I am going to get it wrong, who hailed from Russia and whose name Aspen could not pronounce, was very strict. And if she was bad, the other girls were worse. Aspen had attended ballet class from the age of 5, with the childish dream of someday being a dancer. The young girl soon learnt, however, that she was not, and would never be as charming, flexible, or beautiful as the other little swans. Poor girl. She just didn't have the knack. Aspen had already given up on her dancing dreams when Miss Lai bequeathed her that tiny ballerina, but it was a thoughtful gift nevertheless. It was very kind of her, said Aspen's mother, Penny. You should go over to her house and thank her. Aspen hadn't wanted to go over to Miss Lay's house and thank her. She would have rather stuck her fingers in the toaster. Jesus, man, leave this old woman alone. Now, don't be like that, Penny had said, tutting. Miss Lay is an old, lonely woman. She needs some company, and she did send you a gift. You should show a bit of appreciation. I know they're British, and sometimes they sound really British, but I'm not doing an accent because it would just be disrespectful. Like, my accent would just be, like, making fun of British people, and, you know, I feel like it gets old quickly when people are like, oh, British, innit, you know. Aspen's mother could be quite assertive when she wanted to, and the young girl knew there was no getting around her. She had to go and visit Miss Lay. And so she did. One Sunday morning... Do it. It's gonna be really bad. One Sunday morning, with her hair neatly braided, wearing a blue gingham dress, Aspen walked through Miss Lay's overgrown front garden and knocked on her door. She intended to say a quick thank you for the gift and bolt, but Miss Lay had other ideas. With a small smile, betraying just the slightest twinge of discomfort, Miss Lay had arthritis, and even smiling seemed to hurt her, the old woman ushered Aspen inside. What could she do? Refuse? If she had, Penny, who was always anxious and about maintaining good relationships with the neighbors, would have flayed her. So Aspen, hesitant though she was, stepped inside. When Miss Lay closed the wooden front door behind her, Aspen couldn't help but feel like one of those children from Hansel and Gretel. Was Miss Lay going to lock her in a cage? Cook her in the oven? Jesus, child! She's just an old woman! But Aspen never met such a grotesque end. I might have to pause to take bites of my cheesy bread, hope you don't mind. Miss Lay struggled to pick up her reading glasses, let alone 13-year-old girls. There was no way she could have crammed Aspen into her oven, and anyways, it wasn't big enough. This was no fairy tale, and Miss Lay's designs were of a far less sinister nature than any wicked witch. She just wanted somebody to talk to. Aww. And that was how Aspen became Miss Lay's unwilling confidant. I want to be in this story. I I'm glad they made the main character not just annoying, like boring main character, but I wish I could insert myself in this story, not being this girl, just being someone else so that I could be friends with Miss Lay. Cause poor Miss Lay, man. Almost every Sunday, rain or shine, Aspen would show up at Miss Lay's house for mid-morning tea. Miss Lay's fingers trembled something awful, and her movements were slow and shuffling, but she always insisted on making the tea herself. Not content to serve Aspen the same blends every visit, she instructed Rebecca to buy all sorts of different leaves during her big Saturday shop at the nearby Tesco. Sitting in one of those overstuffed armchairs in Miss Lay's living room, which was strangely uncomfortable despite being piled high with cushions, Aspen would sample teas of varying flavors. The tea was often served with biscuits or chocolates, pink wafers, ginger nuts, custard creams, chocolate fingers, and bourbons. I am very uncultured because I have never had most of those. Miss Lay never ate any biscuits herself. You know what ginger nuts are? I've never heard of them. She laughed and said she was on a diet. That didn't stop her from plying her young guests with sweets, though, and Aspen was worried. Aspen was too worried about upsetting her to say no. Oh, that makes sense. I should write these down. My mom loves everything British, so if I got her British food, she would be so happy. Her tongue burning from too hot tea, Aspen tried to drink it as quickly as possible, and her stomach churning from too much chocolate, Aspen would sit there and let Miss Lay talk. Miss Lay talked about a large number of things during her visits, but Aspen could never remember much of it. Miss Lay talked about people Aspen had never met, all of them dead, buried, and places Aspen had never been. Sometimes Miss Lay managed to get Aspen's name right, but more often than not, she called her Althea. And the whole while, Aspen, who had begun to wonder if she wasn't called Althea after all, sat there and smiled. The clock ticked slowly. Custard creams are mostly British. Well, now I gotta look this up. I do not have an attention span. Custard cream. Oh, those are good. Oh, I should bake some for my mom. They look like, what are they called? Oh, I can't remember the name. I'll tell you when I know. The clock ticked slowly, counting away the seconds, minutes, and hours Aspen would never get back. This child's a bitch, I'm just gonna say it. If Miss Lay knew Aspen wasn't particularly interested in their, tete-a-tetes, she never gave any indication of it. Maybe she was too lost in her own reminiscences to realize how uncomfortable she made her young guests. I feel like I probably do that on stream sometimes. Maybe I've been the old lady all along. Or maybe she was so blind she simply couldn't see. Either way, regardless of Aspen's personal feelings, those sad and somber tea parties continued for several years. This routine, more familiar than clockwork, eventually came to an end, however, and it came to an end in the most gruesome manner 3 years later, one January morning. It had been unpleasantly cold during the winter. According to the news, they were going through a cold snap. Icy winds blew in from the sea, and the wind howled despairingly in the night. Aspen walked to school wearing 2 sweatshirts beneath her coat, but it made little difference. By the time she got to her classroom, her fingers felt so frozen she was worried they might shatter. Aspen's visits to Miss Lay didn't abate during their cold period. Oh my god, imagine like rambling on and like talking about things all day. Like, who even would want to listen to that, you know? Am I right, guys? Nudge, nudge. Imagine like just like basically talking to yourself. That's crazy, man. Aspen's visits to Miss Lay didn't abate during this cold period. Though Aspen felt chilled to the bone, Miss Lay seemed to be doing well for herself. As well as a woman of indeterminate age could do, at least. Miss Lay didn't look any sicker than she usually did, and though she complained that her arthritis was playing her up, these were the same complaints Aspen had heard for the last 13? What? I cannot read for the last 3 years. Aspen didn't pay it any heed. Not until one particular visit. Aspen sat on Miss Lay's brown couch in her equally brown living room, which smelt, strangely enough, of chopped liver, her hands in her lap. Outside, the wind howled. Miss Lay was in the kitchen. She'd gone to brew the tea and plate up the biscuits, as per her normal routine. Aspen had offered to help, but Miss Lay waved the small act of kindness aside. "It's very kind of you, dear," she said, "but I'm not infirm just yet. I can take care of myself. You sit down and read a magazine." Obedient to a fault, Aspen sat down, but she didn't read a magazine. Miss Lay was subscribed to Woman's Weekly and Women at Home, neither of which Aspen had found riveting. Instead, Aspen watched the clock. The minutes slowly passed. 1, then 2, then 5. Still, Miss Lay did not come back from the kitchen. Though Miss Lay often took her time brewing the tea and plating the biscuits, she did have her arthritis to contest with. She didn't normally take that long. Whoa. Aspen wouldn't have been so troubled if she could have heard the sounds of the old kettle brewing or cupboard slamming, but everything was curiously quiet. Excuse me, bread. So Aspen got to her feet, her heart pounding with trepidation. Already she knew something was wrong, and exited the living room. She walked through the hallway, sidestepped an old pair of Miss Lay's slippers and a little wooden table topped with a chunky telephone, and made her way to the kitchen. "Miss Lay?" she said softly, questioningly. "Miss Lay?" But there was no reply. Aspen stood by the kitchen door, which was closed. She felt sick. At that moment, she already knew, via some deep, primordial instinct, that's not how you say that, that lies dormant inside each and every one of us, that if she opened that door, there would be no going back. Her life would never be the same again. But Aspen shook her head. She told herself, like we so often tell ourselves, when we know something to be true but not with facts, but with our own intuition, that was a stroke, that she was being silly. And so she opened the door. What Aspen saw that day stayed with her ever since, like a birthmark. The old-fashioned kettle had finished boiling, and steam was slowly rising from that spout. 2 mugs had been set on the counter, already filled with tea leaves. They were ready to receive the warm water from the kettle, but no water was forthcoming. A plate of biscuits lay by the mugs. Miss Lay had prepared jammy Dodgers. Now I want to know what those are. The stream's just going to be me learning about British people. Jammy Dodgers. Those look so good! Oh my god, they're so cute! Oh my god, now I want one. A plate of biscuits lay by the mugs. Miss Lay had prepared jammy Dodgers. The jam looked so very red and artificial beneath the yellow lights, it was almost nauseating. And as for Miss Lay herself, she was sitting, though perhaps sitting isn't the right word, at the kitchen table. She was leaned back in her chair, fingers resting on the tabletop, and her cardigan half falling off one shoulder. she was quite still. She was so still Aspen would have supposed she was sleeping, save for one crucial detail. Her eyes were open. Her eyes were open so wide they were almost bulging out of her head. Miss Lay's milky blue irises were rolled upwards, revealing a whirring amount of white, and her head was lolling. Her mouth was open too. Her face was contorted into a frightening, silent scream, for no noise would come out of her mouth. She was dead. It was a heart attack, the doctor said when they arrived on the scene. It had been a quiet, understated kind of death, all things considered. The old woman hadn't made a single sound. Miss Lay, while preparing the plate of biscuits, must have felt a stab of pain inside her chest. Accustomed to such aches and pains, she was an old woman after all, she'd sat down at the kitchen table and waited for the pain to pass. Miss Lay hadn't tried to get Aspen's attention, though perhaps the thought had flitted through her mind. She hadn't wanted to worry her guest. Aww! Maybe Miss Lay had always known, though she never admitted it, that Aspen found their weekly tea parties a chore. The old woman was aware she was imposing on the young girl, but how could she help herself? Aspen was the only company she had other than Rebecca. This hurts! This hurts! Oh, I feel bad. Miss Lay hadn't wanted to cause more trouble than she already had, so she'd sat there, her body racked with pain while the kettle brewed, and very silently and very politely passed away. All things considered, it was quite a British way to go. Maybe one could even call it noble. I feel so bad, and I gotta say, I did in fact read ahead, and this girl does not get any nicer to this old woman. Even after the old woman passes, this girl does not get any nicer to her at all. Maybe I'm a little biased because, feel so bad for the old woman, but brave, heroic. But the thought of Miss Lay suffering silently, too anxious to ask Aspen for help, only made the young girl feel even guiltier. If only she could have done something. But Aspen had done nothing, and by the time she realized something was amiss, it was already too late. That I do not blame her for. I don't want to seem at all like I think she could have stopped her death or anything. That's a terrible thing, a young girl having to find that. That was the first time Aspen had seen a dead body outside of scenes in detective dramas or movies. She hoped it would be the last. Unfortunately, none of her classmates or even her friends would ever let her live it down. If you're just stopping by, this is a yuri, so I'm excited to see how this becomes a yuri. Oh yeah, this girl's annoying, I gotta do it anyways. So, did it really happen next door? That's right. That's where you found her body? Yeah. Ew, how creepy. Piva glanced about Aspen's bedroom. Because I thought at a certain point it would make it clear, but this is a Yuri love story. I forgot to mention that, oopsies. Yeah, this is a Yuri love story. Pippa glanced about Aspen's bedroom, which was joined, though separated, by a lilac wall to what had once been Miss Lay's house. How does it feel, living next to a place where a body was found? It doesn't feel like anything, really. Oh, come on, it has to feel like something. Oopsies, sorry. Yeah, there's gays, they're gay people. Doesn't it creep you out? Not particularly. Have you ever heard any strange noises at night? Her freckles are so adorable. I love girls with freckles. I don't like this girl as a person. If I saw her in real life, I would punch her. You'll see why. But, her freckles are cute. What kind of strange noises? Well, I don't know. Wailing? Crying? Anything like that? No. Have you ever stepped into any cold patches of air or, like, felt shivers run down your spine? Oh, well. Aspen thought for a moment in a half-hearted attempt to oblige her friend, then shook her head. Oh, wow. Aspen was being fairly reticent? But Pippa looked impressed all the same. She whistled beneath her breath. It's still seriously creepy. I'd be so freaked out if I lived next door to a spooky old house like that. What voice do I do for her? Spooky. Lucky raised a neatly plucked eyebrow. She's kinda... This isn't a horror movie, and we're not little kids. I know, but the thought of it... Can you imagine? Aspen bit her lower lip. She didn't need to imagine. She'd already seen Miss Lay's body. Pippa hadn't. Maybe that was why she sounded so gleeful about the whole sorry affair. So, the reason, usually if I get a Yuri visual novel, I finish it in an instant. The reason I hadn't finished this one yet is because, one, she's so mean to the old lady, but two, it gets annoying because everyone's annoying. So, like, everyone's so insensitive about this girl finding the body, and I get that that's not, like, what's the word? I get that's realistic, that people can be insensitive, but it doesn't make it any easier to read. Her house looks so run down, too. The garden's a mess and the windows are all boarded up. I guess nobody's moved in yet? I didn't think anybody would want to. It would be quite a hard sell for even the most charismatic of real estate agents. And here we have the kitchen. It's located near the back of the house, away from the road. It's got windows looking out into the garden, a refrigerator, a washing machine, and an oven. I mean, that sounds like a good house to me. If you look to your right, that's where the previous occupant was found, stone cold dead at the breakfast table. It really makes you think about the briefness of life, doesn't it? It's a short candle. I'm curious to see where this game goes. So the months went by, and nobody moved into Miss Lay's house. Except the squatters. The squatters broke in through the windows. They probably stole most of the stuff inside the house. None of Miss Lay's possessions had been moved. She had no relatives to collect them, and she hadn't left a will. The squatters banged about in Miss Lay's home until the early hours of the morning, and made such a racket Aspen's mother complained to the local council. The council got the house boarded up, but that was about it. Okay, can somebody kiss somebody already? I appreciate that the writer is setting so much context, but please somebody kiss somebody. Whatever remained of Miss Lay's belongings, her lavender-stuffed cushions and her little china figures, and her floral rugs that smelled strangely musky, were still shut up inside, waiting for an owner who would never return. The garden, which had brought Miss Lay such joy, was now deader than ever, if such a thing was possible. The weeds have overrun... Exactly! Okay, context, great. Someone kiss! The weeds had overrun the snapdragons and stifled the marigolds, and the roses were more holes than flowers. But despite that, life continued on. Continued on for girls like Lucky and Pippa, at least, who were completely divorced from the memory of Miss Lay's sightless eyes and twisted mouth. Are y'all gonna kiss? But it didn't for Aspen. Not properly. How could it? Whenever Aspen closed her eyes, she saw the image of Miss Lay's dead body beneath her lids, like a grotesque tattoo. Peppa leaned forwards, her voice dropping to a whisper. I honestly would skip a little, but the reason I'm likely not going to is because if somebody, can't afford this game or, wants to play it but doesn't have it, I know I'm not really the best official playthrough, I'm pausing every 2 seconds to talk about gay people, but, I still want to give them that chance. And what was it like, seeing it? How did it make you feel? Lucky, who had disdained down to a fine art, wrinkled her nose. I bet it was disgusting. Lucky's kinda... look, you guys. Aspen shifted on the edge of her bed, fingers linked together. Exactly! Like, if someone was coming to me for the all endings official playthrough, I'm not the person. Aspen shifted on the edge of her bed, fingers linked together. Her bare right foot twitched against the carpet. I don't want to talk about it. Why not? We're your friends, aren't we? She saw a dead woman. That's trauma. We are friends, but you don't need to tell anybody else, but you can tell us. Scout's honor. You've never once been a scout. It's a figure of speech. Well, I can't really remember. It was more than 5 months ago. Liar. What? People don't just forget things like that. At least I wouldn't. Okay, bestie. Your hot factor is going down by the fact you're pressuring a teenage girl into revealing her trauma. You're getting a little less hot, I hate to say. Too bad we're all not geniuses like you, Lockie. I'm not a genius. I just bother to study for my exams, like a certain somebody. Oh, get you. You're so la-di-da. Exactly. Also, like, I could see that memory being blocked out. It was dark outside, beyond Aspen's drawn curtains, and the 3 girls were sitting on the edge of Aspen's bed in their pajamas. All-girl slumber party? Is gayness gonna happen? While Aspen and Pippa were dressed demurely, Lackey was attired in something a little more revealing. Lackey's nightwear, that could be called as such, was a very sheer nightgown with thin straps that shone, pearl white, beneath the dim glow of Aspen's bedside lamp. Aspen wondered if it wasn't too cold in what was it again? Scarborough? Which was by the seafront, to wear such skimpy clothes, but perhaps Lockie's body was still attuned to the warmth of Indian summers. Despite the fact her parents had moved to England when she was still a child. It wasn't yet midnight, and the 3 girls wouldn't be going to sleep for several more hours. That's another critique of mine of this game, that, Lockie, it's kind of like her main I mean, she does have a personality, but a big part of it is being Indian, and I know that your culture and your identity go together hand in hand, but I feel like it leans a little too much often into just making her only that. It wasn't yet midnight, and the 3 girls wouldn't be going to sleep for several more hours. That was how sleepovers worked. There was rarely, if ever, any sleep involved. But Lockie had insisted that they change to nightwear as soon as 10 o'clock came around. Lockie had said she felt more comfortable in her pajamas, but Aspen privately thought she just wanted to show off her new nightgown. Almost all of Lockie's things were new. Her family was rich, and she had no qualms about flaunting it. But Lockie? I take back any insult I said. We could work something out. Lockie flaunted quite a lot. Never mind, I don't like people who flaunt, thought Aspen, as she surreptitiously admired her friend's slender legs. That's gay. That's gay, at least. Come on, Aspen. Pippa, Aspen's more stereotypically British friend, who had perpetually... I've stayed up a whole night. Yeah, me too. I wish I could have more sleepovers. I haven't had that many. Who had perpetually flushed cheeks and ginger hair pouted. That's more pink hair, but I like that they made it a little more cartoony. Oh no! Oopsies. That didn't happen. We've been really nice to you about this whole thing. I mean, we didn't get on your case too much when you found that dead old lady, did we? Yeah, she seems a lot more Irish. Maybe not, but everyone else did. Also, that's the bare minimum. Like, imagine holding it above your friend's head that you didn't make a big deal when she went through a trauma. Aspen hung her head. Her dark hair fell in front of her eyes, obscuring her face. After Aspen found the body, I don't want to hear more about the body of Miss Lay, please. Oh, that makes sense. After Aspen found the body of Miss Lay, she became something of a local celebrity. Aspen hadn't told anybody about her discovery, but the news had traveled fast. Jenny's mother worked at the local hospital. She had been one of the first people to hear about Miss. Jenny's mother had told Jenny all about the awful affair and how traumatizing it must have been for everyone involved. It wouldn't have been half as traumatic if Jenny's mother had heard the basic confidentiality clauses. Jenny told Anna, and Anna told Lucy, and Lucy, being Lucy, told the world. When Aspen returned to school on Monday, a wiser but sadder girl, she was suddenly thrust into unwanted ask-for role of celebrity. Everybody wanted to know what finding a dead body had been like. They wanted precise details, right down to the volume of saliva trickling down from Miss Slay's open mouth. See, I've never found a dead body, so I can't speak to this, and I know that this probably does happen for some people, but the amount of times it happens, and I'm not saying it's not realistic, because I have no clue, but, you know, realism is great, except when it makes it annoying as a reader. Aspen, who'd always been a bit on the awkward side, a wallflower, if you will, had shield away from those queries. High five there! She didn't like being in the spotlight at the best of times, and she certainly didn't enjoy reliving those sickening seconds when she had stumbled upon Miss Lay's body at the breakfast table. She had to be famous for something. She'd rather be famous for being funny and audacious like Pippa. I don't find her that funny. Or beautiful and clever like Lockie. High five! But Aspen wasn't funny and audacious. She certainly wasn't beautiful. And though her grades were good, they weren't as good as Lockie's. You're beautiful, Miss Girl. Don't doubt yourself. Aspen was quiet and softly spoken, and she rarely raised her hand in class, even when she knew the answer to a question. It didn't seem worth the effort. In lieu of having any real abilities or any noteworthy achievements, Aspen became famous for finding a corpse. You're adorable, Connie. Shut your mouth. It wasn't much of a claim to fame. In fact, the whole thing was quite depressing. The hubbub surrounding Aspen died down within a few weeks once her classmates realized it had been easier to pry juicy gossip from Miss Lay's cold, blue lips than Aspen's, but a faint undercurrent of intrigue remained. From that day forth, Aspen knew she'd never be regarded as Aspen Draper anymore, not even among her teachers. Yes, you are, Connie! She was, and always would be, the girl who discovered a dead body. 6 months had passed since then, but Aspen still couldn't escape from the ghostly memory of Miss Lay. Won't you tell us what she looked like? I want to know. I don't want to think about it. Yes, you are! But if you don't tell us, I'll spend the whole night thinking about it, and then I won't get any sleep. It's the uncertainty that kills me. Okay, you know who doesn't get any sleep? The traumatized girl who saw the dead body. These are shitty friends. I don't like them. Aspen didn't reply. Instead, she ducked her head, idly tracing patterns on her bedspread. To Aspen, it was the certainty that really unsettled her. She could try and explain it, but somehow she didn't think Pippa would understand. It was a little like the Thestrals in Harry Potter, Aspen mused. She had taken great comfort in her favorite childhood books after finding Miss Lay's body. I get that, girl. I gotta be honest. I always try my best to watch streamers, but the reason I don't just spend all day watching streamers, because I literally have audio on all the time. Like, if I'm doing anything, I have a video playing in the background, is because I rewatch stuff a lot. I'm autistic, so, most of my videos I watch, I've rewatched 10 times already. So if I ever only pop into stream for a short while, it's not because I don't value the streamer, it's just because new stuff is scary and I want my comfort stuff. It was a little like the Thestrals in Harry Potter, Aspen mused. She had taken great comfort. Oh yeah, I already read that. Oops. Death only made sense to people unfortunate enough to see it, while those who hadn't could never have any hope to understand how frightening real it was. I will not disclose that number. Well, you're no fun. That is a number that sticks between me and God. I don't believe in God. Me and my big brother. Pippa pouted and folded her arms, as if talking about a dead woman could ever be fun. And by remaining silent, Aspen had cruelly robbed her of a diverting amusement. I'm sorry. No, the opposite. I'm embarrassed to admit. Look, your streams are cool. I may rewatch them a few too many times, and that's okay. Aspen apologized, her head bowed, because she didn't know what else to say. What was there to say? Well, it's only 11. We need to do something fun to pass the time. A party's coming up here I'm gonna skip because it's something that makes me uncomfortable. Seems like me being, yeah, pretty much. But it's entertaining. Pippa pondered for a few moments, tapping a finger against her lower lip before... Ah! Her eyes lit up. Maybe we should play a game. You should play Spin the Bottle. Spin the Bottle. I don't want to play any of your silly games. I could chip a nail. It won't be a silly game, Locky. It'll be really mature, I promise. Usually I would love characters like Pippa, but she's too annoying. Since Aspen's parents aren't here, we can really go all out. Spin the bottle? What do you mean exactly? I mean... Pippa drummed her fingers against the bedside table, perhaps in an attempt to build anticipation. We should play Truth or Dare! Aspen felt her stomach sinking through her body to the bottom of her feet and all the way down to the floor. All of a sudden she felt sick. I'm excited now! It's getting good now! Aspen had played Truth or Dare with Pippa during their sleepovers before, and Aspen still bore the scars to that day. Pippa's imagination was inexhaustible, never failed to conjure up disgusting dares and excruciating truths. Blink, blink. Oh yeah, okay, we're fine. Once, Pippa had made Aspen eat a worm. Another time, Pippa made Aspen climb inside the washing machine. When Aspen's mother had found her, she almost hit the roof. She shouted at Pippa, who had been 6 years old at the time, and phoned her mother to come pick her up immediately. I know, right? That's why, like, when she said she always gets the most excruciating truth and the disgusting dares, I was like, I remember when I was playing this part, I was like, and I had to quickly look up, like, I didn't accidentally get, like, a not safe for work novel, did I? I would cry and be traumatized. If her mother had been there now, she never would have let Pippa play such a dangerous game. But Aspen's mother wasn't there. Neither was her father. Aspen's parents were away. Yo! A lone girl sleepover? Hold hands, please? Aspen's parents were away on a cruise around the Mediterranean. The cruise had been booked almost a year in advance, and tickets were hard to come by. Benny and James had offered to cancel when their daughter found Miss Lay, of course. They'd worried that being all alone in this house next to a sealed-off mortuary where Miss Lay's corpse had been found might disturb their only daughter. Aspen, however, had reassured them that she would be all right. In fact, she'd insisted that they go. She wasn't a child, she was almost 17, and she could look after herself, and all-girl sleepover, no parents. If she ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer presence of Miss Lay's memory, she could invite Pippi and Locky over, and her mother liked Locky. She thought she was sensible. When it came to Pippa, she was a little less keen. I don't like Pippa or Locky. Locky's very pretty, but yeah. Unfortunately, inviting Pippa and Locky over seemed to be doing more harm to Aspen's tenuous mental state than good. Aspen was beginning to wonder whether she might have been better off alone after all, nothing but her memories for company. At least they couldn't ask too many probing questions, or make her climb into any washing machines. This Truth or Dare. Locky, who'd met Pippa and Aspen in secondary school and didn't know anything about the washing machine incident, frowned. What is it exactly? It's simple. One player gets to be in charge of the other two. She doesn't know what truth or dare is. The leader asks the others truth or dare. If they pick truth, they have to answer any questions they've asked truthfully. Or they can pick dare. Then the leader can give them a command and they have to fulfill it. It's like the law. Can the leader pick any truth or dare? That's right. Within reason. I see. Interesting. Aspen looked at Lockie hopefully. She prayed that her friend would look down her nose at this proposed party game, as she did with so many things, and deride it as being beneath her. Well, I suppose it isn't too childish if you ask the right questions. Aspen's face blanched. Lockie had let her down, and she didn't even seem to realize. You've never played Truth or Dare with Pippa before, have you? No, I haven't. Why? Is there something I need to know about? It's just, our dares can be quite creative. What? Are you still sore about the washing machine thing, Aspen? Aspen wasn't literally sore about it now, but she had been at the time. Though her parents had a quite large, fancy washing machine. Oh, look at you, large, fancy washing machine. It had been a gift from James' father. It was made for trousers and jumpers, not 6-year-old girls. Aspen had always been short and slight, but climbing into that washing machine had been quite a squeeze. She'd been terrified she wouldn't be able to get back out again. She managed to bruise her right arm most fabulously. It had been purple and green for weeks afterwards. Lockie, who was none the wiser, blinked curiously. What washing machine thing? Yeah. Wait, consumption? Consumption? It's a long story. Don't get bent out of shape about it, Aspen. Oh my god, gaslighter. I hate her. I would punch her if I could. It was years ago. I'm not that immature. Did you try to eat a washing machine, Connie? You kept making little balls with the soldering iron in tech last term and flicking them at Colin with your ruler. Well, he deserved it! He kept making fun of my hair. Mr. Langley wasn't very happy when he found out about it. Oh wait, I'm mixing up my voices, oops. Mr. Langley isn't happy about anything, stupid old git. Pippa huffed at the injustice of it all, her arms folded. Pippa was something of a wild child. When she wasn't coercing 6-year-old girls into washing machines, granted, that had only happened once. You didn't eat it. I didn't ask if you ate it. I said, did you attempt to eat it? She was getting into arguments with Colin Murphy and his friends about her hair. I feel like she's, like, meant to be an Anne of Green Gables type of character, but I don't know if she's meant to fall flat. I don't know if she's meant to be like Anne of Green Gables, except annoying and goes too far. Because usually I love those type of characters. Like, yeah! Don't you dare! Like, you know the main character type of girls that are always like Sailor Moon, those type of girls. I usually kin them. I usually really heavily relate to them. But I feel like she definitely crosses the line. Aspen sometimes wondered if Pippa would have been less fiery if she didn't get teased about her hair so often. Her hair's cute. Maybe Pippa acted loud and brash to deter people from making rude comments. Not that it ever worked. If anything, it made her even more of a target. Anyway, enough about that. Pippa clapped her hands together. Truth or dare? Let's start. Do we have to? Of course we have to! We've already decided. We have? Aspen looked at Lockie. Do you really want to play? I always feel so bad for the main character. I understand the feeling of being spoken over and things like that. That's happened to me a lot. And I feel like this is where a best friend should see that silent plea on your face. No, don't you dare, Connie! You will not be cute anymore if you eat a washing machine. Why not? It might be interesting. But Don't look so sad, Aspen. I'm not gonna make you get into any more washing machines. You wouldn't fit. That hadn't deterred Peppa in the past, but Aspen decided to keep Shatum. You're always cute, Connie. It was 2 against 1. She couldn't win. Aspen had very few friends as it was. She didn't want to alienate the only friends she had somehow miraculously managed to cling to throughout secondary school, strange though they were. I know I keep pausing to speak every 2 seconds, but I mean, you know, if you want to play the game, go play the game. I'm here to speak. Um, I I've been in scenarios before where you have so little friends that you just cling on to toxic ones, and it is not worth it. It is not worth it. If you feel like you have like next to no friends and you just desperately want to cling on to some, it's an understandable feeling, but I would say look around you because there's so many people who you don't realize are in your corner until you have more people in your corner. You're my friend, Connie. And I'll always be yours. Aspen had very few. Oh, wait, I already read this. Alright. We can play if you really want to. Great. I knew you'd see it my way. Our way. That's right. So. Pippa smiled mischievously. Aspen didn't like that smile. She didn't like it one little bit. Ooh, are they gonna be gay? Oh, it's okay, Connie. It's kind of like... How do I explain this? It's kind of like genshin. Like, you can work as hard as you please, and sometimes you're just still not gonna get what you want, sadly. But it doesn't mean that you're not doing anything, right? Like, if you don't have real life friends, that doesn't mean that you're just a terrible person. Like, again, like with Genshin, like, you can do everything you can do and still not have something, and sometimes you just gotta wait for it to come, or sometimes, like, there's something that you haven't realized yet. Since I'm the one who decided on the game, I think I should go first. Any objections? Not here. I guess not. Great. Then I'll ask you... Okay, so I'm gonna skip past this part because it's something inappropriate. To sum up, so Pippa's like asked like, who do you think of when you do not safe for work stuff to yourself, and that makes me very uncomfortable. And Pippa's older brother has a crush on Locky, so she's like, oh, like you're not answering, so do you want me to tell my older brother you have a crush on him because Locky doesn't like him? Which that's weird about consent. Ew, please, ew, please, ew. Okay, it's over. Woo, we made it. All right, whatever. It's your turn now, Aspen. Truth or dare? Well, Aspen dropped her gaze to her knees. Her face was still spotted light pink with remnants of leftover embarrassment on Locky's behalf. I hope we get to choose. She could have chosen truth, she supposed. But what if Pippa asked her an unpleasant, intrusive question? A thought was painful. I feel like that's especially shady, because, like, when it comes to, like, not safe for work conversations, if somebody's uncomfortable, that should never be pressured. Like, not that you should pressure someone into anything uncomfortable, but, like, like pressuring someone to say their favorite kind of cheese, that's fine. But if someone doesn't want to talk about something not safe for work, that should never be something you pressure them into. Would it perhaps be better to choose dare, then? Pippa could think of some extremely nasty dares, but weren't they a little too old to eat worms? Plus, as Pippa had already reassured her, Aspen really was too big to fit inside the washing machine now. Come on, Aspen, the clock is ticking. Dude, you're really not gonna tell me your favorite cheese? Dude, come on. Oh my god, if I ever have like a good amount of money, I'm gonna go to different streamers and be like, tell me your favorite cheese, and I'll donate like $500. But I'll do that to you if I get a good amount of money, Connie. But my favorite cheese personally, no questions, American cheese. Call me basic, I am basic. Come on, Aspen, the clock is ticking. Is there a time limit? I might have to impose one if Aspen keeps dithering. If you can't make up your mind, I'll weird sounding. Now, I wonder what I'll do. Aspen's pinched pale face turned paler still. If Peppa intended to punish her regardless of what she did, she might as well make her decision now and get it over with. And so it was, her stomach tying itself into knots, that Aspen slowly said, "Then I choose Dare." Alright, now that's what I'm talking about. Pippa punched her fist in the air triumphantly. Lockie, meanwhile, raised one of her slender brown eyebrows. That was brave of you. Yeah, bye. I just hope it wasn't too foolish. Don't worry, Aspen. I know you're a baby, so I won't go too hard on you. I'll make it easy. Don't make it too easy. It wouldn't be fair after what you asked me. Lockie, whose side are you on anyway? I don't take sides. That would be immature. Well, don't worry, you two. I have a really good idea for your dare, Aspen. You're not gonna shut me up inside more small and close spaces, are you? They'd studied the cask of, Amontillado in English that year. Aspen didn't want Pippa getting any ideas. Don't worry so much. I might be planning to shut you up, but it won't be anywhere smaller and closed. Where, then? Can't you guess? I'm not very good at guessing games. Please, Pippa, just tell me. Christ, you don't have any imagination, do you? I feel like sometimes she sounds really British and sometimes she doesn't. Alright then. An unpleasant smile captured the corner of Pippa's lips. Oh my god, that was my first thought. When I haven't finished the whole game, I just went through some of it. I thought they were gonna do 7 seconds in heaven, but I was worried that they would do that because I don't like either of these girls. They're pretty much bullies, so I was like, I don't want her to kiss a girl who I hate, you know? An unpleasant smile captured the corner of Pippa's lips. I want you to break into Miss Lay's house. That is so terrible. They are literally bullies. Having her go back to the site of her trauma and disrespecting a dead old woman's house. This is so stupid. Lackie tutted, her slender arms crossed over her chest. It was near the end of August, and though it was a cool night, it wasn't uncomfortably so. Break in, but it's already broken! Lockie stood outside Miss Lay's home, backlit by the garnish orange light of the nearby lamppost, and sighed. She was still wearing her sheer nightgown with the thin straps. The nightgown stopped at Lockie's mid-thigh, exposing her knees and a generous portion of her slender leg. I know, right? Girly, we know you're gay, but eye contact, that is not eye contact. Though her otherwise bare feet were encased in her white wedge heels, the rest of Lockie was exposed to the elements. You're focusing a lot on Lockie being exposed to things. This is a little weird, girly. The wind ran through her short, brown hair, so it fluttered. In the midnight streets, bathed with artificial light and framed by the round moon, Lockie looked strangely ghostly. Pippa, meanwhile, was much more corporeal. With her pink cheeks and her red hair, she was comforting. I feel like this is a weird shot to stay on. She was comfortingly solid and real in this dark, dark night. But just how comforting was Pippa really, when it was through her continued insistence that the three girls had come outside in the first place? They were the only people outside, which was to be expected. It was almost midnight. Aspen lived on a quiet street, and it had grown quieter still once the doors and the windows of Miss Lay's house had been boarded up and the squatters had been driven out. Literally! It was deathly silent, save for the sound of the wind through the trees and the dim, distant din of a calling bird. Don't ban me, Twitch! That it was just examining her dress. The silence did little to comfort Aspen. Instead, it made her feel even more anxious. Surely it was too late to play silly games like this. If her mother had been at home, she never would have allowed Aspen to go outside at such an hour. But her mother wasn't home. She was on a boat that was slowly cruising through the Mediterranean, doubtless enjoying weather that was a good deal warmer and sunnier than it was in Scarborough. Aspen swallowed. Her saliva tasted like ashes. Lockie's right. This is stupid. Let's go back inside, Pippa. We can't go back inside. Not when we came all this way. You're gonna do the dare, Aspen, and that's final. I hate them. This is called bullying. Advice from your local VTuber streamer. If your friends do this, they are not your friends. They are bullies. But the windows are all boarded up, and so is the front door. There's no way inside. I feel like doing a British accent would be disrespectful to British people. Then let's go around the back. There must be somewhere you can get in. But Aspen didn't have enough time to argue back. Pippa seized hold of Aspen's hand with her own. Girlfriends? A few moments ago, Aspen had found the unquestionably I know what that word means, but it's hard to pronounce. I give up. A part of Pippa's body a comfort. Now, it was more like a curse. Also, I'm probably gonna finish this chapter and then end stream. Pippa dragged Aspen around to the rear of Miss Lay's house, pushing open the small wooden gate that divided the front garden from the back. The gate was unlocked. It opened with a piercing creak that sounded far too loud in the stillness of the night. Aspen's heart pounded harder and harder. Now the three of them were standing in Miss Lay's back garden, or what had once been her back garden. Aspen had been there herself on a few occasions when Miss Lay had been alive. The gate was gate unlocked! When it was sunny, the pair of them would sometimes take tea there, at the white patio table with the matching chairs. The table was still in Miss Lay's garden, and so was one of the chairs. The other was curiously absent. The moonlight illuminated the lattice patterns of the once familiar table, now rendered unfamiliar by the darkness. If the front garden was overgrown, that was nothing compared to the back. During the last 6 months, dandelions and white clovers had been sprouted everywhere. The grass had grown long and unruly, with nettles nestled inside, ready to sting unsuspecting legs. Miss Lay's old pear tree, which she had... Okay, I'm not gonna skip. Miss Lay's old pear trees, which she had loved to distraction. Ivor had planted them, seemed more crooked than ever before, but maybe that was a trick of the light. Those trees had always been crooked, even when Miss Lay was still alive. But Aspen couldn't stand in the garden forever, marveling at what ravages time had wrought. At that precise moment, she was rather more concerned about her own imminent fate. There, I knew it! Pippa pointed at the leftmost window at the bottom of the house, which Aspen knew led into the kitchen. From what she recalled, it overlooked the sink. The basin and the taps would be right underneath it. Somebody, maybe one of the squatters, or else a scavenger, had removed the plywood that had stopped up the window. The window had been smashed. The glass pane was eerily absent, like the entrance of a cave. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. That was something Aspen's dad used to say about her room in jest when she let her clothes and dirty plates pile up. Oopsies. Aspen had never read it. Aspen faced the window of Miss Lay's old home, her face pale and bloodless. You're not suggesting I climb through the window, are you? Well, how else are you going to get inside? Oh. Professional. We're professional here. Aspen took a step backwards. I don't think this is a good idea. You're not chickening out, are you? Literally. 1 minute. Sorry for headphone users. It just doesn't look very safe. What if I cut myself? You'll be fine, Aspen. Stop worrying. But that window, it leads to the kitchen. That's where I found Miss Lay. Oh, I see. Pippa smiled mischievously. Fuck Pippa. Fuck Pippa. Uh-oh. Is it still there? You're not afraid you'll run into that old woman's ghost, are you? I don't believe in ghosts. What's the problem? You can go in there for a few measly minutes, can't you? Pippa! Fuck you. Is the noise gone now? But it wasn't the ghost Aspen was afraid of. It was her own memories. They were already starting to come back to her. But Aspen knew they'd never really left. Okay, good. My camera kept falling, so I had to move it, but I forgot my mic was attached. Even now, her dreams were interrupted by images of Miss Lay, sunk back in the... Okay, I'm not gonna skip. Slumped back in that chair, and her eyes rolled back in her mouth. I'm just gonna power through for a little bit, so we can get to Gay. How could she explain that to Pippa? Pippa had never seen a dead body. She wouldn't understand. Pippa was too dynamic, too lively, too cheerful, too oblivious to ever worry that one day she would shuffle off this mortal coil. It happened to the best of us. The worst of us. It happened to everyone, even sweet old ladies like Miss Lay, who might have been a bit creepy, but who never meant anything bad. But Lockie was beginning to get impatient. She glanced around Miss Lay's disorderly garden and frowned. They're going to go inside Aspen. Oh wait, wrong one. They're going to go inside Aspen. You should hurry up. Oh, are you getting cold, Lockie? Not really. Lockie, who'd never admitted to any weakness, rolled her eyes. I'm just bored. Same here. Get your act together, Aspen. You're being bored. I'm gonna punch this girl in the face. Pippa? Aspen looked at her friend, who didn't seem very friendly right now, with hopeful eyes. What a bitch. Can I change my mind? Can I say truth instead? Nope, that's against the rules. Then I'll let you punish me. You can do whatever you want. Whatever I want? That's right. Then your punishment is to go inside Miss Lay's house. Fuck off. But that's not fair. It's not fair you're making us wait for so long. I have better things to do with my... Oh, wrong one. It's fine. But... Come on, Aspen. Oh, wait. Literally! Come on, Aspen. It's just an old house. There's nothing to be scared of. This is literally like... Does this count as emotional abuse? Because I think it should. You only need to go inside for a few minutes. That's all. I think it upsets me so much because it's like... Lockie made it sound so easy, but Lockie, like Pippa, had never seen a dead body. She wasn't the one who discovered Miss Lay. She didn't know how Aspen had felt when she pushed open the kitchen door on that day, still innocent and unassuming, to be confronted without any warnings by death. Death rarely gave any warnings. Death had been cruel to Miss Lay, but it had been cruel to Aspen, too. It had shown her something she was too young to process, something she wasn't ready for. Now Pippa and Lockie were asking her to confront it all over again. To them, this was just a game, but Aspen was being forced to relive one of her worst nightmares. But what could she say? Pippa's fingers found Aspen's shoulder. She pushed the limp, unresisting girl onward, towards the gaping window with its shattered glass. Come on, Aspen! I just want you to go in there for 5 minutes tops. Fuck you. I'll wait for you outside. We won't go anywhere. Do you promise? That's right! Pippa smiled her Pippa smile, her teeth large and white in the light of the moon. Gently, tenderly, she let her hands fall from Aspen's shoulders. She entwined her fingers with her friend's and gave them a gentle squeeze. I promise! But as it transpired, climbing in through the window was no easy task. Aspen might have been small of stature, but she wasn't particularly coordinated. She had no sense of balance. That was why she'd quit ballet. She didn't have the knack. Aspen's clumsiness was intensified by her fear as she tried to maneuver herself through the empty, gaping window frame. Though the glass had long since been knocked out of the pane, Aspen worried some residential shards remained lying in wait to gouge chunks of flesh out of her unprotected hands. Aspen's fingers tensed as she lifted herself upwards. I know, right? I'm very, very clumsy, I have to admit. She could feel her knuckles turning white. All of a sudden, her body felt heavy, a dead, leaden weight. That's right, Aspen, you can do it! What are you, her cheerleader? I'm just giving Aspen a bit of moral support. She looks like she could use it. Aspen was too focused on the task at hand to span Lockie a glance, but she could feel the raised eyebrow in the other girl's words. I don't suppose Aspen will ever make it as a burglar. Of course not. Our Aspen is a good, pure girl. Though this is technically breaking and entering. There was no breaking. Okay, see you, Connie. Thank you for joining me for so long. You're the sweetest. The window was already broken. Besides, nobody lives here anymore. I didn't think Miss Lay will mind. The local council might. Then we'll just have to keep quiet, won't we? You're extremely sweet. That was easier said than done. I'm sadly probably ending soon anyways. I want to get to at least a gay part, but I doubt it's coming soon. Soon, sooner than she had expected at least, Aspen found herself perched cat-like on the windowsill. She looked down into the kitchen, which was dark and murky. With her back obscuring the moon, it was hard to see more than 3 feet into the room before her. Aspen teetered uneasily and shifted, trying to regain her balance. I'm not sure about this. Oh, come on, Aspen, you're almost in. I know, but... No buts. It's too late to back out now. But... if you can't go inside yourself, I'll have to help you out. All of a sudden, Pippa was upon her, her pajama sleeves rolled back, revealing pink forearms, splashed here and there with freckles. The palms of Pippa's hands rested upon Aspen's shoulders. Now, in you go. That's a terrible thing to do. But Pippa... You don't need to worry about anything. Lucky and I will be here waiting for you. We already said. Isn't that right, Lucky? Break a leg. Not literally. Thanks for the warning. And make sure you don't run into any ghosts. Aspen knew Pippa was being silly. Was she trying to lighten the mood? But it didn't make her feel any better. At least it didn't make her feel worse. Hey, here's an idea. If you do see a ghost, why don't you take a photo of it? You brought your phone with you, right? It's in my pocket, but... Good! Then make sure you snap away. I doubt you'll see any ghosts, but I am rather curious about that house. I wonder how many of that old woman's things are still in there. Don't know. I figured the squatters would have stolen most of them. Aspen gazed fitfully into the blackness that had once been Miss Lay's kitchen. It was in this space, overlooking the back garden, that Miss Lay had prepared cups of tea and arranged biscuits on her rose-patterned plates, all the while humming under her breath. But Miss Lay wasn't there anymore. Only the memories remained. I hope there aren't any squatters still there. If there were, we would have heard them by now. Or they would have heard us. But what will I do if somebody is in there? Leg it? Aspen sighed. What wonderful advice. You're just fussing over nothing, Aspen. Stop working yourself up. If you run into anybody scary, I'll call the police, okay? Aspen was doubtful. English. Aspen was doubtful calling the police would be a wise idea in this situation, given what she was about to do. In fact, the police might prove to be scarier than the imagined squatters. She wouldn't get arrested for this, would she? Now, make sure to take some photos! And come back in one piece. Don't talk to any strange men. Maybe you could bring back a souvenir. What sort of souvenir? Maybe one of the dead woman's hairnets. See, this is what I mean. They're so disrespectful in this game, and I don't like it very much. And what would you do with that? Keep it as a memento? You're sick, Lockie. Now in you go, Aspen. Don't forget my hairnet. Don't forget the photos. But Aspen didn't have a chance to retaliate. That's because, all of a sudden, Pippa gave her shoulders a shove. That is so rude. Maybe the shove was supposed to be reassuring. Aspen didn't think Pippa really meant to knock her off the window ledge. But Pippa was stronger than she thought, and she often did things without really meaning to. That was how she'd given Katie Neal a black eye in PE with the volleyball. Pippa hadn't meant to spike the ball quite that hard or at quite that angle, but she had, and it hit Katie's face anyway. Katie had crumpled to the floor, twitching with pain. It was much the same for Aspen now, though no volleyballs were involved. With a wide-eyed, surprised shriek, "Ha ha!" Aspen felt herself falling forward. Her chest hit the taps beneath the window as she fell, and then her back met the floor with a sick, dull crack. Aspen lay there for a few moments, winded, staring at her ceiling. Her vision was blurry and it hurt to breathe. Her chest hurt horribly. For a few moments, she'd worried she'd crack some of her ribs, but if that was the case, wouldn't breathing in be much more painful? She was being ridiculous. Aspen knew she hadn't caused herself any serious damage, but... When she shifted, she heard the floor creak beneath her. She could feel something cold and hard beneath her back, her exposed thigh, and the flats of her palms. The underside of her right hand felt strangely warm and wet. Ew! What was that exactly? Dazed, as though in a trance, the teenage girl raised her hand before her face. She turned it over, studying it like an exhibition in a museum. It was bleeding. Oh my God, Pippa, look what you did! Look what you did! There was a small gash in the center of her palm, and a trickle of strawberry red blood was oozing out of it. How had that happened? Maybe it was glass. Now Aspen thought about it, that was the most likely explanation. She must have landed on bits of the long broken window, which were still scattered around the sink on the ground. Aspen? Hey, Aspen? Aspen could hear a voice from beyond the window. It was obviously Pippa, though she sounded more high-pitched than usual. Aspen, are you all right? Say something! Aspen remained silent. She knew it was cruel of her, but the panicked note in Pippa's voice made her feel somewhat satisfied. Honestly, girl boss. Make her feel bad. Make her realize the consequences of her actions. I understand that feeling of like when you get gaslit into something and you want them to know that that could have seriously killed you or could have seriously done harm. It almost made her aching head and bruised ribs and bloody palm worthwhile. Almost. Aspen? This isn't a joke, is it? Aspen continued to lie on the floor, staring up at the ceiling. She counted sheep inside her head, trying to take her mind off the pain. Come on, Aspen, answer me! Answer me! Let me know you're okay. But Aspen didn't reply. She'd been dragged around too much that night, and she was so tired of it all. She was tired of Pippa. She was tired of Pippa's silly games, and she was tired of herself for being such a doormat. She was tired of everything. Maybe she hit her head on something. You don't think she passed out, do you? Well, I don't know. I'm not the one who pushed her. But you didn't stop me! You said you wanted to see inside of that house too. See, Pippa also puts the blame on everyone else, and I hate that. I'm curious, like I said, but this has nothing to do with me. You need to take some responsibility for your own actions, Pippa. That's so not fair! You're the one being childish, Lucky. Responsibility for your actions? Pippa's never heard of that. I'm anti-Pippa. Aspen's body tensed. She watched the blood trickle slowly from her palm, then sighed. She clenched her fingers into fist. Playing dead had been a relatively harmless way of getting her revenge, but she didn't want Pippa and Lucky to argue. Why not? Cause chaos, girlie. Not over her. She wasn't worth it. Yes, you are, girl. With a groan, Aspen forced herself to stand. She had to move gingerly so she didn't lacerate herself on any more shards of glass. She was lucky, she mused, that her palm was the only part of her body she cut. Sorry, corn. Aspen's head felt a little light, and she staggered when she pulled herself upright. Her legs threatened to buckle beneath her, but she supported herself by gripping the basin of the sink with her fingers. Her palm, which was still bleeding, left a red, bloody streak against the mottled ceramic. Calm down, you two. I'm fine. Aspen! Are you really alright? Yeah, I just had a bit of a nasty fall. Well, thank God for that. Why didn't you say anything sooner, you dozy girl? My head hurts. Well, hurry up and get out of there. You're making me worry. I'm making you worry? You're the one who told me to come in here in the first place. Because it all seemed like a game when we were standing out in the garden, but it feels too real now and... Oh, whatever! Just get out of there, Aspen! You sound like my grandmother. Shut up, Lucky! Lucky clicked her tongue. Since Aspen's in there already, we might as well ask her to take a few photographs. Didn't you want to see what the house was like? I do, but... Aspen searched in the pocket of her shorts for her mobile, but her fingers brushed against nothing but fabric. She blinked. She looked down her feet, a sinking feeling inside her chest. There was her phone, lying amongst the shards of glass from the shattered window. Much like the window, her poor old phone, which had lasted for so many years, was broken. There was a spiderweb of cracks running along the screen from where it had been dropped, and its silver casing was scuffed and dented. Hesitantly, Aspen bent down to retrieve it. She tried to turn her phone on, her fingers slippery with blood, but nothing happened. It's dead. Your phone? It fell out of my pocket. I think I landed on it. Well, that's all we need. Pippa acting like it's not all her fault. Good job, Pippa. Hey, how's that my fault, girl? Girly. You were the one who pushed her, remember? I hope you're planning to reimburse Aspen. I mean, she is your friend. Don't be stupid. I can't afford to buy her a new phone. Guys, it's alright. It wasn't alright, not really, but Aspen didn't like hearing them argue, especially not over her. Poor girl. I'll just buy a cheap phone to replace it. Are you sure you don't mind? It's fine. I'm going to come back now. Aspen turned, ready to leave, when she heard something. A voice. Are you going already? The voice was soft and distinctly feminine. There was something light and littling about it, as though the speaker was half speaking, half singing. There was nothing inherently malicious about those words, but Aspen felt a shiver run up her spine all the same. Now, don't look so anxious. I don't mean you any harm. It just gets so boring sometimes, being on my own so often. This is the most fun I've had in a while. Hey, Aspen? What are you waiting for? I told you to get back here. It seemed like Pippa couldn't hear the mysterious speaker. She, Aspen was sure it was a she, was talking so softly her voice could only reach Aspen's ears. But why? Who possessed that soft, feminine voice? Who else was inside Miss Lay's house? And just how long had they been there? Aspen, come on, stop playing around. Aspen felt her heart stammer inside her chest like the stuck keys of an ancient typewriter. Part of her didn't want to know who the mysterious speaker was. Ignorance was bliss, after all. What would she do if, upon turning around, she happened to spot something no mortal's eyes should ever see? A ghost? A phantom? Or maybe it was something she couldn't assign words to, not so arbitrarily. The sensible side of Aspen wanted to slip out through the window without looking back. So, you're just going to obey your friend? What is she, your keeper? Do you always let yourself get pushed around like that? But another, slightly less sensible part of Aspen knew she couldn't be so hasty. This girl, whoever she was talking to her. She was addressing Aspen and Aspen alone, and Aspen couldn't remember the last time that had ever happened. Nobody wanted to talk to Aspen. She'd become something of a celebrity after she'd stumbled upon Miss Lay's body. It was true, but the hype had soon died down. There was nothing interesting or unique about Aspen herself, with her boring black hair and her dull brown eyes. People looked at Pippa because she was loud and noisy. And people looked at Lockie because she was foreign and beautiful. I hate the word foreign. But nobody looked at Aspen. She was and always had been completely overshadowed. But not anymore. That was why Aspen turned around. And that was when she saw her. Finally, some gayness! There was a girl, lingering in the doorframe like a shadow. She must have been watching Aspen for some time, tucked just out of sight. Their eyes met, and the mysterious girl smiled. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Aspen didn't reply. She could only gawp, eyes wide, as the girl slipped out of her hiding place. With neat, nimble steps, just like a ballerina, the girl crossed the kitchen floor and took a seat atop Miss Lay's worn-out washing machine. She's so pretty! Finally some gayness! You, Aspen stared at her, insensible, her brow furrowed. What are you doing? Taking a seat. I thought it would be a nice place to examine the view. Oh, what view? The girl giggled coyly and pointed towards Aspen, half her face still obscured by the shadows. Aspen felt color prickling down her cheeks. She gestured towards herself, trembling. Me? Mm-hmm. The girl tilted her head to one side, amused. Now, what are you staring at? Did I do something funny? Trembling, Aspen took a step back and bumped into the sink. My, you're a bit of a clumsy one, aren't you? Aspen didn't say anything. She couldn't. She was too busy looking at the girl, though perhaps looking wasn't the right word. It was too pedestrian, and this creature sitting on Miss Lay's old, distinctly mundane washing machine deserved more respect than that. Appraising, then. Revering. Was that right? The girl had very long blonde hair which fell around her shoulders in a shroud. Her clothes were also pale, and they seemed to float about her hanging legs like the train of a bridal dress. Her eyes, framed by long and pale lashes, were watery blue. Though she was pretty, there was something disconcerting about her. Perhaps she was a little too perfect. Aspen wondered, if she were to cross to the other side of the room and lay her fingers against the girl's cheeks, whether they would feel cold and hard like porcelain. I wonder what's up with that. I wonder if she's a ghost or something. Yes? What is it? Cat got your tongue? Dude, I find it so cute when girls tease. It kills me. The girl's legs, hanging over the edge of the rusted old appliance, swung back and forth leisurely. Her shoes, which were black, unlike the rest of her outfit, hung from the tips of her toes, revealing the white underside of her stockings. This was where she differed from a doll. She was far too active, even in the act of mere sitting, to look quiet and peaceful. You're looking at me like you've seen a ghost. Haven't I? Well, I wonder. The girl glanced around the derelict kitchen, a small smile playing about her lips. This is where they found the body, isn't it? Aspen swallowed. She could feel her toes crawling inside her trainers. She hadn't worn any socks. Pippa had been in too much of a hurry to chivvy her out of the house. I'm the one who found her body. Really? The girl raised an eyebrow. Lucky you. That must have been thrilling. Frightening, more like. And yet, despite that, you still came back? I didn't really have a choice. I didn't want to, but my friends. The ones yelling for you outside? That's right. They don't sound like friends to me. They're not that bad, really. I'm not so sure about that. I don't think I could forgive anyone if they forced me to come back to a miserable place like this. Not even the Pope. But you're here all the same. That's because I wanted to come here. But why? Why not? I'm not the one who found the old woman's body. It doesn't really matter to me, and it is interesting. Don't you think it's interesting? Personally, Aspen found the strange girl more interesting than Miss Lay's home. She'd been there enough times when Miss Lay was alive, and she'd had no desire to return now that the old woman was dead. The house was much the same as ever, just darker and sadder and emptier. Aspen decided to sidestep that question. Instead, she looked at the girl and said, "Do you come here often?" The most cheesy, flirty line. "Almost every night. I've never seen you here before." Not that Aspen made a habit of entering Miss Lay's abandoned home. This was the first time in months. "That'd be because some of us know how to make an entrance quietly." The girl grinned. "You almost scared me out of my skin. We were lying on the floor for so long, I was worried you'd broken something." I was worried too." "It's a good thing you're tougher than you look." The girl teetered, swinging her legs back and forth, and Aspen's face burned darker still. "I'm surprised your friends didn't come in and help you." I don't need help. I'm fine. Besides, I don't want them worrying about me." "Then can you really call them your friends?" "Yeah, I mean, I think they care about me." "You keep telling yourself that, sweetie." "Sweetie?" "I don't think they sound very friendly, but that's just my opinion, and nobody's ever cared about that." "Huh? What makes you think that?" "Because it's true. Nobody listens to me." "I'm listening." "That's very kind of you, but..." Aspen? Hey, Aspen, what are you doing in there?" Maybe she really has seen a ghost. "I thought you didn't believe in ghosts, Lucky." "I don't." "Then cut it out, you're scaring me." I think now that we've met the girl, I am sadly going to end stream. Thank you so much for everyone who came. I hope you enjoyed the game. I'll be playing this game again, most likely. But I will get back into Genshin and things. I just gotta figure out how to make my Wi-Fi work with me on that. You know, I may enjoy Genshin, but I also enjoy making the stream watchable for you guys. Thank you for everyone who joined, and have a lovely day. Bye bye.